right, welcome everyone to our session today on Microsoft Copilot in Outlook and Teams. These are two applications that, well, I should say three, because Copilot is an application, Outlook and Teams. And these are the three things that I am in all day long. So they're the first things that I open at the beginning of the day, they're the last things that I close at the end of the day. I seriously am reliant upon Copilot because there are so many things that it can help us with for efficiencies. So we'll see some examples, of course, how that all will work for us today. But first off, I just wanted to talk about what exactly is Copilot. So Copilot is Microsoft's AI tool that, depending on your licensing structure, because there are different versions of Copilot, I'm going to be using and demonstrating today the version that is a paid for copy. Excuse me. It's a paid for version that is directly connected to our Microsoft 365 account. There is a free version of Copilot as well, but that will not be connected. And so most of the things that we demonstrate today will not work for you if you don't have that specific license. Now, how do we actually get into Copilot? Well, you actually have a lot of different ways to get into Copilot. One of them is going to be going to your Microsoft account. So if you log into your Microsoft account online, you'll have quick access to Copilot directly from there. And that's what I'm in right now. I logged into my account and I'm directly in Copilot. But just so you could see, excuse me, quite the tickle. Just so you could see, I also could be going into Copilot directly in Microsoft Teams as well. So although I'll be demonstrating how to use Copilot in Teams, if I just want the Copilot app and I want to do some searching or whatever the case might be, I have the ability to go to the left-hand side, the menu bar, and click on Copilot from here directly within Teams as well. So either way will get you to the same, basically the same screen with being able to chat with the system called Copilot. So I'm going to spend most of my time right now, though, starting out in the Copilot online because I have a navigation pane on the left-hand side that I want to refer to in a few different areas. But before I get started with that, when we talk about being able to use Copilot in our Microsoft 365, you'll see some demonstrations of that here today, of course, but it can be used in Word, PowerPoint, Microsoft Loop, Outlook, Teams. It's really available all over the place. It's not just specific for one thing. So we're going to see today mainly on Teams and Outlook, but you'll see some different prompt suggestions and things that will be coming from these other apps that we have. So one more thing before we get started in the application and how you're going to use it is Copilot does have some limitations that I want you to be aware of. If you're going to be using Copilot to help you with any documents, whether it's Excel workbooks, PowerPoint, whatever, the files do need to be saved on the cloud. So it is dependent upon cloud storage, which means your file needs to be in OneDrive, SharePoint, of course, document libraries, and or of course Teams document libraries to be able to utilize Copilot. And of course, like I said about the subscription. And when it comes to analyzing data with Copilot, when we do Excel sessions and things like that, and we have it do data analysis, you do want your data structure to be set up appropriately for Copilot to really be able to help you. And sometimes it might even come back and say that it doesn't understand because of the way that the data is structured. So it does have those little bit of limitations at it. I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of. So right now I'm in the Copilot app online, logged into my Microsoft account. On the left-hand side, I'm clicked on the icon for chat. which is the Copilot. So on the right-hand side of the screen, let me explain what you're seeing. At the very top, we have a toggle button that allows us to have Copilot work directly in our work environment, which is referring to your 365, or it can be analyzing information coming from the web. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've ever gone to the internet and done a search on something, whether you're searching on a vacation, you're searching for flights, whatever it is you're searching for, it doesn't matter. Your new printers, you will end up with millions of results. We don't get that kind of response here in Copilot. So you'll see some examples of how that works here in a moment. So I will demonstrate for you, and hopefully you have it open and you can follow along and do some of this as well yourselves, but I'll show you the difference between work and web. But before we get to that, on the top right is this icon for creating a new chat. So if you have a new subject that you want to work with Copilot on, you should have it be in a new chat. Don't keep adding things to the chat history that aren't related to each other. So as you're having this conversation with chat, you don't really want to mix topics because it does store the history for you. Now, the security side of that, what I just said, was that this is not a chatting system that Microsoft releases your information that you're chatting about. This is very secure, which is fantastic for us because if we're having it analyze a file or anything like that, just so you know, it doesn't use the information that we're chatting with the system about as training material for the system. It doesn't give the information back to Microsoft. They have no access to the information that we are chatting about. It is only a part of your account. Okay. So I like having that, that knowing that we're going to be safe when we're using this. So in the middle of the window, right now I'm in the web chatting. So in the middle of the window, it's saying it knows who I am. So it says, "Hi, Jolynn. What can we help you with?" My cursor is blinking in the chat box where I could just simply ask it any type of a question. I do have a plus sign down at the bottom that you can see that from the screen tip, it says add content and agents. So I could add content, meaning I could add an image, I could add a file, etc. PDF, doesn't matter what kind of file. You can be adding in a file that you can be having Copilot analyze. So that's pretty cool that we have the capability of doing that. But underneath the chat box, what you're going to find are suggestions of prompts you can do with the system. So because it's web related, it's giving me suggestions like analyze the following text and make suggestions, prepare a daily brief from the news, coming from the internet, the latest news, write something funny for an out of office email reply. You can have it do all kinds of things. It's pretty crazy. So anyway, I wanted to give you a quick demonstration of how just the Copilot chatting piece of this works. It's all about prompting. No matter if I'm prompting inside Outlook, I'm prompting inside Teams, I'm prompting here on the app itself, you want to give good chat to the system so it understands what you really want to get back out of it. So let's say that I want to look up some information that's related to working in Outlook, like how do I set up my out of office? So I can just ask it questions like that, questions on how do I do something in an application. So it will come back with a response based on whatever it is you prompted. Now, I didn't give it a lot of detail. I just said, the out of office assistant. But what you're going to see that I really like in Copilot, and it's everywhere that we use it, not just here in the app, but at the bottom where my chat is, right above it, I'm going to get additional suggestions based on the conversation I was having with the chat system. So it's giving me a suggestion of, I'm using Outlook. How do I set it up? Can you help me write the message? So if I want to use one of those, I can click on it, press my send button, And by the way, just so you know, there is a microphone down at the bottom, so you can actually talk to the system instead of typing. So I'm going to click the send. It sends that chat message to the system and it instantly replies with some suggestions of how we could do our out of office assistant. Now, of course, if I want to take that a little bit further and give it the dates that I'm going to be gone, I want to tell it to be a little humorous. I want it to be very professional. We can set the tone of the response that we want to get back. So make this longer and more professional with slight humor. See what it comes back with. It helps me to write things all day long because, and you'll see this in Outlook, if I start an email and I have it all typed out, does it really sound the way I think it sounds? Copilot's going to be able to help us with those kind of things. So anyway, it came up with, hello, thank you for your message. I'm currently out of the office, recharging my creativity and, and patience with the help of two energetic granddaughters. How does it know that? Anyway, I have my granddaughters coming tomorrow, so two of them. So anyway, just so you can see the response that we give back, it's pretty cool. Um, so I like having it do things for me. I'll of course put my own little twist on things. I don't always take it verbatim for what it is that it comes back with, but it sure gives me a great starting point. Now, if I wanted to use this, I can actually come down to the icons down at the bottom and I can copy it. So if I want to copy this and then go into my Outlook and paste it as my out of office, I'll be able to do that. Now, of course, it's going to take the whole thing, so I have to kind of clean it up a little bit. And like I said, give it my own little words here and there. But it's a great feature. But let's take this a little bit further because how would I use this with my 365 account? Not just chatting with it like, general questions. If I go back up to the top and I click work, it's going to be using my 365. So the prompt suggestions that it's giving me are going to be more related to my work account, not just general things off the internet. So summarize my week in the style of a comedy roast. Kind of a strange one, but when's my next meeting with? And it shows me a person, or I can add a different name in there, and I can find out when do I have my next meeting with that specific person and what's the latest from. It can organize my emails, tasks, whatever that are related to a specific person. So to me, these are the things that are the efficiencies that I take advantage of every single day. So let's say that you were actually gone on vacation for a week and you just got back and you need to know, what did you miss over the past 7 days? You can ask Copilot to analyze what you had going on in the past 7 days. So what happened over over the last 10 days that needs to be on my radar? Just so you can see how Copilot's going to respond to something like this. I could spend hours trying to go through my calendar, go through my tasks, go through my emails, and figure this out. Copilot does it in just a second. So it's going to go out, search through my emails, and see what has been going on. If I'm looking for something specifically based on a topic, I could do that. Based on a person, whatever the case might be, it's going to be able to do that for me. So email highlights, 226 results. So I got to tell you, this is why I use Copilot too, is because do I want to scan through 226 different email results? So it's coming back with, here's some information about this email or this topic, etc. So it's giving me the first few, and then it's got chat activities, it's got file updates, it's got meetings, and then it's got local news because I was investigating on some local news that was happening. So I got to tell you, this is an easy way to have Copilot do the work for us, and it only takes a couple of seconds for it to analyze all of it, where we're saving hours of our time trying to do it ourselves. But down below, we have some suggestions of continuing that conversation, like summarize my upcoming events, help me prioritize tasks for the next week. So let me show you how that one could work. And this is all being done right within the Copilot app. Could I be in Outlook doing that? Yes, I actually could. I could do the same thing in Outlook, or I can be doing it here. Um, it just goes back and analyzes my account, so I don't have to necessarily be in it. So it's searching for my tasks that are due this week, and it's going to come back and give me a summary of what I have going on. I love this. So it's got high priority tasks, invoice correction, Copilot training webinar. So you can see it really is a great way to get summarizations where we don't have to be doing that ourselves. So when I'm just really using this directly here in the app, but what if I'm not quite sure what I should be prompting it? How do I know what are good things to be asking Copilot? Well, at the bottom, right above the chat window on the right-hand side, you're going to see this little star icon. It's called View Prompts. If you go into the View Prompts, what that's actually going to do is give you a window. Come on, catch up with me. I don't know if it was still analyzing. It's going to look up on me for a second here. And my video is kind of weird right now too, so I know I'm having a little bit of weird issues going on. But anyway, just so you could see, when I come into this view prompts, come on, what it's actually going to do is allow us to see a list of suggested prompts. So these are the Microsoft prompts where it's giving us a suggestion of stay informed, what's the latest from this particular person, write more confidently, find the right questions, sharpen your writing. So it's giving you all these suggestions of what it is that you could be using Copilot to do. So as I scroll down, look at all these options. It's a good idea, especially if you're new to this, to kind of scan through some of these on a regular basis. They're always adding new ones and things too, because this is going to help you to learn more about what you can take advantage of here in Copilot. So I really like going through these suggestions. But up at the top, you actually have some filter options where I could go into task and I could say, I'm looking for something that's learn related or prepare, or I can do things based on job type. So you could kind of narrow it down and filter through those if you decide to. So I like getting those suggestions, but we also have the suggestions when we come in to Copilot as well. We get those prompt suggestions down at the bottom. And I'm going to start a new chat by going to the top right, just to show you this here real quick. Um, just so you could see, if I wanted to do something with any of these suggestions, all I have to do is type it in, or click it, I should say. I don't have to do the person that it brings up. I could actually do it based on any person, but just so you could see how this would actually work, it analyzes my Outlook and will bring back the results based on whoever that person was. It's amazing to me how quick and easy all of this can be. So it's going to come back with email results. It's going to come back with anything meeting related, task related, any of that. It's going to come back with all of those different options related to that. So this is just an example of how you could be using the Copilot app to be really helping you to analyze what you have going on. But how am I going to use this when I'm actually in Outlook? How would I use this here in Outlook? Well, there's a couple of different options that you have. So let's say that you are on an email and this is a conversation. You click on an email that has been a conversation going back and forth and back and forth. You know how those conversations go via email. Well, on the reading pane on the right-hand side, you can see that at the very top, it says summarize with Copilot or by Copilot. If I click summarize by Copilot, it will take the history of that conversation and give us a summary at the top of the window. That to me is so much easier than me having to scan through the entire email and try and figure out what really were we talking about. So it comes back with all that for us. It is giving us this Ask Copilot as well, or we could simply go to the Home tab of the ribbon, like we do in all of our Microsoft apps, and open up Copilot from there. Now, they have recently made some changes to the way the window looks here for Copilot in Outlook. It's consistent across the board. So if I'm using Copilot in the calendar, I'm using it in Mail, it's going to look the same, which is great for us as end users. We don't have to worry about, why does it look different? Is it going to work the same? It's going to be the same. So if I just go to the Copilot icon at the top right from the ribbon or click on Ask Copilot, it's going to open up this Copilot pane asking, how can I assist you? And it's going to give you some suggestions. What should be on my radar for emails the last week? Translate the following text into whatever language you want to choose. You could see I could use any of these, or down below it says see more. If I click on the see more, what that's going to do is expand to give you additional features. So I have a meeting coming up, and it's asking me if I need help to prepare for that one-on-one meeting. I'm doing some consulting on Access with this person, Ash. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. You can see that it added it to the chat for the Copilot, and I'm going to go ahead and click the send button. And I do have a microphone there too if I wanted to just talk to Copilot instead of typing or anything. But it's going to go back and it's going to analyze my account to see, what do I have out there that is related to this upcoming meeting. So you could see it's coming back with, there's no agenda or notes listed in the invitation. So if you'd like, I can help you quickly draft an agenda for the meeting. So it didn't include an agenda in that meeting, so Copilot can actually help me draft it. So that's kind of working with Teams and working with Outlook and Copilot all at the same time, because it's looking at my appointments coming up, whether they're Teams appointments or they're, in the conference room, face-to-face appointments, whatever the case is, it's using those apps. So I'm going to say draft an agenda for this meeting, and I'm going to press send so that it can go back and it can create that agenda for me. Now, of course, I'll tweak it, with the things that I need to, but boy, that's a great way to get started without having to do things from scratch. I'm not really one that likes to start things from scratch if I don't have to. So to me, I love this. So I really could copy this and put it into that meeting then. I didn't create the meeting. I think I was invited to that specific one, but either way, we can have an agenda that's ready for that. And I use the prepare for an upcoming meeting. I use that with Copilot all the time, because it's going to analyze my emails and stuff to see what was related to that meeting. So I like the way that that turns out. So anyway, you can see down at the bottom, it's giving me some suggestions, and it even says, would you like this turned into a formatted document or an email draft? So it could even do that for us. So we don't even have to manually do much. We can just ask Copilot to do it for us. Hence the name Copilot. It's our little assistant here. So might as well have our assistant do that for us. So those are just a couple of options that I wanted to mention, but I do want to mention something else. What if I happen to be on an email? So let me go to an email, and let's say that I want to turn this email into a meeting. I'm going to go to the Home tab of the ribbon. I'm going to click on this icon called Schedule with Copilot. It's going to automatically analyze the content of that email. It's going to invite everybody that was a part of the email. We can, of course, choose a date and choose a time. It does give you, if you're doing this with an email from a coworker, it will look at their calendars to show you the availability based on the date and time that we are choosing. So that's what's great about the right-hand side of the screen. It's just going to automatically show if everybody that you're inviting is available. So it will be green if everybody's available. It will be red on the right-hand side, and I'm just kind of dragging this up and down with my hand here. It will be red if everybody's not available. Now, this happens to be somebody outside of my organization, so it's not finding their availability, but if it were a coworker, they would. So in this meeting, I can turn this into a Teams meeting. I could change the date, change the time. But what it did down at the bottom is what I love. So it took the contents of that email, it's got the email up at the top, and it created an agenda based on the email content itself, summarizing the conversation so far. If I want to insert that, I click insert, and that's going to be inserted into the meeting. Now, of course, I could still make changes to it once it's entered into the notes area. But I love getting a meeting started this way because I do this often. This is something that I use on a very regular basis because I always have emails that it's like, okay, well, let's just schedule a meeting about this. So we can have Copilot take that content and help us to get started with creating that meeting. Now, I'm not really going to send that, but just so you're aware of the fact that we have that capability here through Outlook. So, how else can Copilot help us when we are using Outlook? Well, another way is if you create a new email. So let's say you come into a brand new email, you can see right away I've got this draft with Copilot. If I click on the icon for draft with Copilot, it brings up this window where I could type in what I want the email to say. I can get suggested prompts to say, make it short and friendly, request information, I want to do an announcement, etc. It's got different suggestions of what you could be putting in there. But if I know that I want this email to be inviting people to view a recording of Microsoft Copilot agents. So I'll just put in that little bit of information as to what I want this email to contain, and it's going to come back with a suggestion of how they would word it. So, hello, team. I hope this email finds you well. I'm thrilled to share this exciting development, blah, blah, blah. So you can see that it's got this email already written. But what if I'm not quite sure I like it? I could go to the menu down at the bottom and click retry. Retry is going to rewrite it. I still could go back to the original one that it showed me, but now I have two that I could choose from. I could say retry again and get a third. And where it says has these arrows that it says 2 of 2, every time you retry, it adds it. So you could toggle back and forth in between them if you want. So I'm going to say retry again. So it's going to go out there and rewrite it again. And now I have three that I can toggle back and forth and decide if I want to use any. But I also have these other suggestions. I could say make it shorter, make it longer. I could say change the tone. I'm going to say change the tone and make it more casual. It's going to automatically rewrite it again and make it a little bit more casual. So now I have four. So it's every time it regenerates, it adds it to the list of available options. But I could continue again and I could customize the draft and, go back and say, make it shorter, make it longer, and continue that. But if I get to the point where I want to keep it or I want to get rid of it, discard will get rid of it. Keep it will keep whichever one you happen to be on. So right now I'm on the fourth suggestion. I'm going to say keep it. It automatically has that in that email. Now, of course, I'm going to go back and I'm going to put my little twist on it. I'm going to say instead of team, I'm going to say hello, everyone. I can do those kind of things. But am I ready? Am I ready to send this yet? I don't. It doesn't really matter lately who I'm sending the email to. I have Copilot coaching help me every time I write an email because how do I know for sure what it really sounds to the recipient? I wrote it, so, did I say things right? Should I have said something a little bit different? And that's the features built into Copilot here in Outlook that I absolutely love. So back up to the Copilot icon. I'm actually going to click the down arrow, not the icon because the window's already open on the right. But from the menu, I'm going to choose coaching. It's going to look through your email that you wrote or Copilot wrote, and it's going to come back. And on the left-hand side, it's got these different categories that as you scroll through, it's telling me the tone. This email is positive and informative, but could convey more excitement about the new tool in session. And then as it says, instead of hope you're doing well, we could say, I hope everyone is doing great. Or I could replace and say, I'm excited to share with I'm thrilled to share. So it's giving me these different tone options. Then it's got reader sentiment. The email invites the reader to watch the recording and provides useful information, but could be more engaging. And then it's got clarity. Use detail and specifics. Instead of recent session of Microsoft Copilot agents, you could say our session last Wednesday. So it's giving you some suggestions as to how you could really be changing this based on these categories on the left-hand side. So down at the bottom, I could say apply all suggestions. I could retry and have it kind of go back through it again, or I could dismiss it. I'm going to say apply all suggestions. It still allows you to keep it if you want. So if you don't want to keep it, you don't have to, but get the idea of being able to come back and read through it. Great, I like it. I'll click replace, and it will replace the content that I have with the suggestion. Now I do have a 2 of 2, so I could go back to the original one if I wanted to. I could dismiss, I could retry, I could even modify the content, make it shorter, make it longer. So I still have those additional things that I could do. But if I want to use it, I click replace and it automatically replaces that email content with the content that they had suggested. That is something that I use all day long because I'll come in and, I'm taking everything off my thoughts and typing it all in on what I wanted to say. And I got to tell you, it gives me a lot of suggestions because I don't always know. I'm not always the best at writing those. I got to tell you, Copilot has been my best friend for things like this. So I use Copilot all day long, every day, to really have it help me stay more efficient and stay up to speed on what I really need to be doing. So speaking of that, let me go back over to the right-hand side. So I was talking to Copilot about, what did I have for preparing for about this meeting? Well, can I do that same thing in the calendar? Well, let me show you. If I close the Copilot window, so if I decide, okay, I'm going to think on this for a little bit, I'm not going to send this just yet, but I need to go check my calendar. I'm going to go to the calendar here in Outlook. And when you are in the calendar, you have your Copilot icon still at the top right. And you have that drop down arrow, but the drop down arrow is different than when I was in email. So if I'm in email, I get the coaching, the rewrite, but here I get chat and settings. Chat will take you into your chatting window, but otherwise I could really just click the Copilot icon and it's going to open up the Copilot pane again, where we can have a conversation with Copilot on whatever it is that we need. So maybe I need to ask it, when's my next meeting with a specific person? I don't know for sure. I don't want to scan through my calendar to look for it. And by the way, I could ask the same question back in the Copilot app, or I could be asking the same question when I'm in Teams. I could be asking the same question if I'm in Outlook email. I could ask it from anywhere in Copilot. But just so you could see, I'm going to press send and it's going to automatically scan through my calendar. And like I said, it doesn't matter if it's just an Outlook event that I have or if it's a Teams event, it's a Zoom event, doesn't matter what it is. It's going to scan through my 365 account and come back with the information. So I have 2 upcoming meetings today with Sylvia. It's going to give me that information. Let me know if you'd like help preparing for either of these meetings. And then I can say, what's my next meeting after today? Do I have any meetings with Sylvia this week? Show me my upcoming meetings, and I could have a different person. So it's here to assist you with whatever it is you're chatting. It's going to give you more options to continue those conversations. So I'm going to say, what's my next meeting after today with this person? So it can continue to scan through your calendar events and find the information that you're going to be needing. So Copilot is here to help. If you have not been using it, I'm going to highly recommend today's the day you start. It is unbelievable, the time, the effort, the frustration that you're going to save yourself from. Okay. So anyway, it came back and it says, if you'd like me to help you schedule a new meeting, blah, blah, blah. So just so you could see that it does that. So what if I needed to find some other information that is related to being here in Outlook? Do I have a task that is for Microsoft 365? I'll just say that, kind of general, but just so you could see how Copilot will respond to something like that. Okay, I'll search for task for Microsoft 365. So it's going out to my account and searching for that information. I could even be asking it if I have a recent file that a specific user has edited in the past week and things like that. It's really amazing how Copilot works. And it's gotten better and better here directly in Outlook and Teams, etc. As Brian was kind of saying at the beginning, this is a newer tool that we are using, but they are continuously improving it. So you might come in and see a new screen because they made some improvements to help us be able to use the application better. This integration that we have with our 365. So anyway, just so you could see, it came back and it says, you asked whether you have a task related to 365, and it came back and it says you have 2 active tasks listed in Microsoft Planner, a late task from the new hire descriptions and an upcoming task. Additionally, you assigned a task label W4 to this M365 employee plan. So it has related activities and training that are related to 365 or whatever subject it is that you put in. So it's amazing how it can go out there and find that information for you. So that's going to be how I utilize this application the most here in Outlook or through the app itself. But let's talk a little bit about directly in Teams. How can we be taking advantage of using Copilot in Microsoft Teams? Well, I already mentioned the fact that I can open Copilot in Teams, and then I could be doing my searching. I do have access to the work, I have access to the web. So just like you saw when I was in the online app, I could be doing those same things. What looks different though is when I'm here through Teams, it's showing the menu on the right-hand side. So I could get back to previous chats. Here's that chat that I was doing earlier on setting up out of office, my out of office message. So I could jump right back in to the history of the chat. When I was in the app online, that menu was on the left-hand side. So little bit different when I'm using Copilot here in Teams. But this is the actual Copilot app. How am I going to use it inside the different portions of Teams? Well, let's say that I'm in a chat. I have a chat with a coworker or group chat that I'm doing with a bunch of people, whatever the case might be. I can actually use Copilot here. As a matter of fact, when I come down to my typing area to type a chat, I have a Copilot icon. It's not the same Copilot icon that you normally would see. It's a pencil with a star. I'm not real sure why they don't have the typical Copilot icon. I've tried to look that up and I didn't find a good answer to that. I want the consistency. And I know Microsoft is very dedicated on having things be more consistent across the different apps, but I don't know why they have a different icon. But anyway, just so you could see what it comes up with. What it brought up is Copilot can write or adjust your message to make them even better. Type a message to get started. So I can actually go in and type my message, use Copilot to help me rewrite it before I send it out. And I don't know about you, but I chat with executives a lot. I chat with, CEOs, CIOs. I chat with a lot of different people, and I want to make sure my chat is appropriate. I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly. So I'm going to say something like, please send me your current status of the new project we have on radar. I could just send that message the way that I had it written, but is that the way I really should have said that? Let me take that and I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to put it in this message And I'm going to have Copilot read over it and see what they come back with for suggestions. Could you please share an update of your current status regarding the new project we have on radar? That does sound a lot better than the way that I typed it in. So just to give you an example of how you could actually be taking advantage of Copilot directly in a chat. I'm going to say replace, but just so before I do that, under the adjust, you have a menu that you could choose. We could say make it more concise, make it longer, make it casual, professional, confident, enthusiastic. So if I say enthusiastic, it's going to come back with adjusting the way that it was written, but I have my 2 of 2. So I could always go back to the first one if I want. Or I could go back to adjust again and say, oh, make it more professional. And it will come back with a suggestion of being more professional. I have 3 now and I can choose which one I want it to apply. So if I go back and I click replace, it's going to replace that. So before I click send, I don't always just click send on a chat anymore. I'm having Copilot help me to make sure that what it is that I put in there really is said the way it should be said. So I like the fact that I have that built in. Now, we could be doing that same thing in a post. So if we go to a team, we go to a channel, we're going to have that same capability that we had before. So let me show you an example of this. If I go to this employee onboarding to this general channel and I'm in a post, when we click inside to start a post, we're going to have that same icon that we could be using as well to have Copilot right there to help us rewrite the post. And I think it's even more important here in a post because the chat might be just me and my coworker chatting back and forth. Of course, depending on who you're chatting with, you might want to use that rewrite in a chat. But I definitely want to use it here in a post because that post is going to be seen by everybody that is involved with that team. So I do want to make sure that I'm taking advantage of Copilot with that message before I actually click post. Okay. So just so you know, it's here, works the same as it did when I was talking about the chat. But how else can we actually be taking advantage of Copilot here in Microsoft Teams? Well, meetings. Meetings is a great option for helping us with our Copilot integration. So let's say that I actually want to do a meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'm going to create this and I'm going to say it's going to be a department updates for 2026 or whatever the case would be. I'm going to say that I want to invite student 1 to this. It's searching the availability because it is my coworker. I'm going to say I want this to be a Teams meeting. Now, of course, I could come in and put in a description, which I normally would if I'm inviting someone. I want to do more options and put in an agenda. I want to have those kind of things available. So just so you could see, and it's telling me not everybody's available because I'm actually off tomorrow, but just so you could see when I come in and I'm starting to put in my notes and stuff, I have Copilot, this editor down below that I could be using as well to help me write this. But I do use the agenda down at the bottom as well when I'm doing a Teams meeting. So I'll come in and put in the topics we're going to be talking about and things like that. So I'm going to say topic 1, we're going to talk about topic 2, etc. I can do that all before the meeting is started. Once I'm ready, I click send. It's going to, of course, invite that person to join that meeting. They can accept like we normally would. But what's going to happen with Copilot? Well, when I set up a meeting, and just so you can see this, I can join the meeting. If I just click on it, I can join it or I can go back and edit it. If I come back into that meeting again, just to show you, we could actually go into our meeting options and configure some meeting options prior to even using, or I should say, prior to even sending the meeting or after we've even sent it, we can set up our meeting options before we actually conduct the meeting. So that meeting options is going to take us into this window where we could put in different roles. We could have the meeting access. Do we want people to, need to sign in? They have to have a code, whatever the case is. But I also have this Copilot option. So I could say allow Copilot during and after the meeting or only during the meeting, or I could turn it off. So I'm going to say I want to allow Copilot to be used during and after the meeting. I'm going to click Save. So I basically can set things up before we actually do the meeting. And I do that a lot. I do a lot of webinars too, and I'll do features with it there as well. So anyway, once I have this saved, I'm going to go back and I'm going to actually start the meeting so that you can see how we can actually take advantage of using Copilot for this. So I'm going to go ahead and send that update to who I invited, and then I'm going to go to this meeting and I'm going to join it. So let me go ahead and click on the join. It's opening on my other screen here, but let me show you that window. Now, because my camera is already being used, I won't use that, and I'm going to keep my microphone off as well so we don't have the conflict here. I'm going to go ahead and just click join now. So what's going to happen is because I had an agenda, it's going to automatically open the notes pane, and then also it's going to allow us to have Copilot, which is the icon right from the menu at the top. We could be using Copilot. So I'm going to first go in and I'm going to say record and transcribe. So I'm going to say start recording. I'm going to confirm. So now it's actually recording this. I'm going to close that window. I'm going to click on Copilot. And if I showed up to the meeting a few minutes late, I'm an attendee, I could come into Copilot and ask it, oh, well, I don't know why it's not available for me right now, but, oh, I didn't start my transcripts. Sorry. Oh, I did. I did start my transcripts, but oh, it's probably because it's not actually hearing me because everything is turned off. But anyway, just so you know, what's going to end up happening is if I came to a meeting late, I could actually go into Copilot and ask it, what did I miss? But the best part that I use it for a lot is after we get done with the meeting, it's going to actually give us the capability of going back into a recap, and we can use Copilot in that recap to ask it questions. Like, what if I needed to ask it, who is the person that asked this question during the meeting? Was there a did we have a conversation about this? Did anyone ask this? You know, we could be having it generate the meeting notes for us. Give me a summary of what was discussed during this meeting. So we can really be taking advantage of Copilot during our meetings. And I think in Microsoft Teams, that's probably where I use Copilot the most, is with my meetings. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this meeting. I didn't have anybody with me on there anyway. I didn't um, accept it on my other account. But anyway, just so you could see, now it's going to come back once it's done doing the recap with that recording and everything. It's going to come back and, of course, let me know when all that's ready to go, or I could go back to the meeting itself, but it notifies me in different areas. I could go back to the activities and be able to go back to that meeting. I could go to this chat and let me show you how I get back to a lot of my recaps here. If I go to chat, I can go to meeting chats, and this is going to show me my previous meetings and chats that I had during those meetings. So it's telling me right now the recording is ready for this department updates that I just did. I'm going to, and by the way, you can see that it has the agenda and the notes. It's got a transcript here. I'm going to click on view recap, bring that all over to the screen that you can see. And this is where we can start to take advantage of having meeting notes with Copilot. So I got my Copilot icon up here at the top. It shows me my video, the recording of that meeting. But here's Copilot. So it could check the facts. It can have AI, Copilot itself, help us with the meeting. So down at the bottom, it says, ask me anything about this meeting. Did this person attend the meeting? You know, just think about the things that you need to know about what happened during that meeting, especially what if you didn't make it to the meeting? You could come in here and ask different questions about the meeting, even if you weren't in attendance. If you have access to, if you were invited to the meeting but just couldn't make it, you could even be using it that way. So we have a lot of great tools that we can have us as end users take advantage of when it comes to using Copilot. Now, I didn't put a specific person, but let me actually say, did student one attend this meeting? So it will generate the response after it's analyzed the meeting content with the transcripts and everything. I could ask it, was this question asked during the meeting? Whatever it is that you have, you could be asking Copilot about it. So it's telling me it's unable to get my transcripts. We have some conflicts. Sometimes when I'm actually trying to demonstrate Microsoft Teams, if I'm already in another meeting, it doesn't always work with all the features that I'm doing, but it works wonderful when you're doing just a Teams meeting, trust me. If you haven't done it yet and you want to practice with it, do a meeting with a coworker. That's not a bad idea because then you can see what you can really be taking advantage of and make sure that you have the right meeting options turned on so that you can take full advantage of all of that.